Okay, so Hannah got asked a very interesting question, and I'm going to address it. I've actually been waiting for this question because I figured at some time it's going to come up, and and I mean it's not terribly unexpected. Sorry for the lighting; it's very dark in this room, and I'm using the computer itself as a light source here. But the question was, how do you and your boyfriend have sex? And of course, Hannah has a disability, so clearly there's a failure here, and I'm guessing they went to public school like a lot of us did, and the education there really sucks. So I'm going to explain how this works. You see, when a man and a woman love each other very much, there will come a time where their relationship turns physical, and at some point there will be kissing and petting and arousal, and generally after that point comes a little section of it called foreplay, where you heighten the arousal even more to prepare yourselves for the actual sex. And then once you're both well aroused, the man inserts his penis into the woman's vagina. Okay, so obviously I'm kind of making a joke about this, because seriously though, we basically have sex like everybody else. It's really not any different. Of course, being that she has muscular dystrophy, can't exactly expect her to get on top of me or anything like that. There's certain accommodations that have to be made, of course. But again, you can't really explain how to have sex with someone with a disability without it being very specific, case specific, which in this case, being that she has muscular dystrophy, her specific disability, and the way it affects her, it's just it becomes a very, very personal question, not just how do you have sex with someone with a disability, because it's going to differ case by case. But realistically, the number one thing is communication beforehand. Talk it out, understand each other. What can and can't be done. I'm not gonna expect her to be the physical aggressor in all of it, obviously, because it's just not going to work that way. I would say honestly, though, the biggest thing, especially for those who are in a relationship with someone who's disabled, not the person who is disabled, but the person that's in the relationship with someone disabled, just communicate and talk to them. Find out what they might like, and also be open-minded of the fact that there's just going to have to be exceptions made. Now, to get a little more on the personal side, using our case as an exact example, our biggest obstacle isn't even necessarily anything to do with her disability per se. It's more just trying to think of a delicate way to put it here. A fitment issue, I guess you'd say. She's very small. I mean, just physically overall, she's very short. She's just a very small person in general. Certain parts of the body are, proportionate in that aspect. I'm not very tall. I'm only 5'6", but I will say I am disproportionately larger than I should be there. So we have a physical limitation in that aspect, and it has very little to do with the disability itself, but it definitely is more complicated by it, being that things like even certain positions that may make it easier are going to be makes that difficult. So we already have a difficulty issue. Now on top of that, it's compounded by the disability. Whereas I think most people will have issues with the disability first. Ours is actually kind of the opposite, in my opinion. But yeah, in all seriousness, though, it's really not any different, because there's nothing missing from either of us. Everything is there. Everything works just fine. So there's not really a difference in how sex works for having sex with someone with a disability versus having sex with an able-bodied person. You know, two able-bodied people that you have sex with are not going to like the same thing, same positions, same touches, same anything. So you adapt and you communicate and understand. It's no fucking different, really. It really, really isn't. So, you know, to the person that asked that, you know, I apologize that I kind of turned it into a joke at the beginning, but the fact of the matter is I can understand where someone might ask this question because they're unsure of it, but the fact of the matter is they're still a human being. You know, everything still works, everything's still there. It works the same. So there's my answer to that.